Okay, so this is part 5 of my series of video where I rig a character, in this case Lara Croft. In my last video I introduced a way to create twist bones for the upper arm here. Since then I've worked a little bit on my own to create a tool that helps me continue on my rig. And then I also placed the bones for the hair. So it's basically just a series of bone attached to the head. So if I check on the schematic view, they're all attached to the head. So this is my hair bone. Something else I did, I modified a little bit my feet in a way that now if I have a rotation in local, I mean it's more aligned with the floor than it was before. It was in a diagonal direction, and I didn't quite like that. So now I placed them, I kept the pivot point, I moved it a little bit, but I kept it high enough so it actually follows the ankle and whatnot. But now if I rotate this sideways, I mean the foot will remain on the floor. It won't pivot in a weird way. So that's one thing I did. Other than that, yeah, I removed the twist bone I created in my last video because now I made a tool that will generate them for me. And also because the way I did it, it wasn't quite like that I wanted to do it, in the sense that they were connected directly to the bone itself, and the different helpers I had, which would separate the shoulder bone from the upper arm bone. I had a helper in between, and I didn't want that. So for the next step, I'm just going to create all my FK controllers for every bone. And for that purpose, again, I made the tool that will do that for me. So if I launch my tool, it's slightly modified from the last time I used it. Now I have this button here that will create all my FK controllers. So I'm just going to press this, and there you go. Now I have all my controllers. What this does exactly is, well, it simply copied all the bones and rearranged them to mirror the first hierarchy that I had with my bones. So all my bones remain connected one to the other, and there's another set that mirrors that tree here, but they're all controllers. So all my bones, they were renamed with controller instead of bone. And it also created the hip controller, which connects the hips and the spine. So now there it is. So from this this controller, my bones are connected and my controllers are connected. And this is linked on another one to the floor, which I call the control master base. From this one, I'll have other controller and helpers linked to this one, and then this one will be linked to this one controller that will hold everything together, which is car for character. So there you go. That's what it does. So, and it recolored them, color coded them for each side, and have green, red, and blue for the middle, different colors for the hair. Also, what it did, what this tool did, it created the constraints of the bone. So now the way it works is every bone for each controller is constrained to it. So now in position and in rotation. So now I only need to use the controller and the bone will follow. Okay, so he didn't set a skin pose, so that's something I need to add. So I'm just gonna select everything and use the set a skin pose. Alright. Now if I try, and it's okay. Okay. And then I'm going to now generate my twist bones. So now I have this tool that I made where I can choose the amount of twist I want per limb or per limb part. In this case, the upper arm, and and so forth. It would simply place them at equal distance from each other, from one end to the other, so it's all calculated. But for this, I can use 3 or 4. I'll go with 3. It can do a decent enough job. And so I'm just going to press the button. Okay, now it created the helpers. We don't see the bone because my first tool, the control helper, it hid my bone layer. And my twist bones, when they're created, they go directly into this layer. So if I unhide it, now I can see my bones. There's one here, down here. There's one here, and there's actually 2 here, one for the upper arm and one for the forearm. So it's the same. It's the same as when I did it manually in my last video, except that now I did it via coding. But the principle is the same. Where I can see the controllers here. That's not position, it's in rotation. It created the float script here, like I did in the last video, and it created my variables, and it entered the code, which is modified depending on which bone it is. For example, this one is 0.5 because it's in the middle. It's actually exactly in the middle, and this one would be -1, so that it will just counter the natural movement. I mean, of the whole bone. So, for example, if I twist this one, see that the first one didn't rotate at all because of the -1 that countered the rotation. This one rotates only halfway, and this one will follow it completely. For the arms, for the forearm, since the driver of these twist bones is not the forearm itself, I'm not going to use the forearm here. This is the bone. Hold on. The controller key. I'm never going to use the forearm here like this. This is not going to happen when I'm going to, to animate it. It won't happen because it's not actually the forearm that you twist, it's the hand that you twist, and the forearm kind of follows. So my driver is the hand. So when I twist the hand, the wrist will follow completely up to the elbow where it doesn't follow at all. For now, the mesh hasn't been skinned on the twist bones. I'll get around to that later. But at least I know that the bones follow, so it's just a matter of skinning. If I look at my schematic view, now I can see my twist bones. They all rename twist bone neck, and with the value they have, and they're connected to their main bone. In this case, the neck, and I have the others here. And it's the same thing for the legs. The thigh here will drive its own twist bones, but for the calf here, it will be driven by the foot. Let's see, we can see my twist bone here following completely, and this one just following halfway. So there you go. Now for this video, what I wanted to do was to introduce a new set of controllers, which will be the IK controller, and then add a switch that will switch the control between IK and FK. So for that, what I'll need to do, I'll need to create another set of controllers in addition to the ones already there for the arms, and I'll do the same for the legs. I'm just going to hide the bones for now. And then the way it's going to work is the bones, they're already constrained to these controllers, the FK controllers. But I'm gonna add another constraint for the next set of controllers. I'm gonna add the IK controllers, and then I'll add a switch that will toggle between the two constraints. Okay. So for this, I'm going to need, for example, these two. I'll just use these two for now, and I'll simply copy them by script. So I'm just saying copy $, which represents my selection, and press enter. Now I have two new boxes. Which I'm going to reshape. Now they're going to be added here. These I'm going to move. There's still some work to do on my tool, but for what I needed to do, it's going to be sufficient for now. So I'm going to create a new layer where I'm going to add rename. I'm going to add my IK controllers. And I'll select this one and this one, and add them on this in this layer. Now I'm gonna hide this my FK controllers. I'm going to resize them, but first I need to make sure they're not, they're actually connected to the first set, so I'm going to unlink them for now. And for this I don't need actually to have them the full length. I only need their pivot points actually. I actually didn't need to copy them. I could just have created points, let's say. I'm just going to align them to these, and rotation and position. Align it to the other one, and I'll align it to this helper there. Okay. So now I have my three controls, or rather targets, for my IK chain. These I can delete. And now I'm just going to create my IK chain. IK solver, HI solver, and first I need to link them together. So link this one to the forearm, and the forearm to, hold on, I need to see better. I'm gonna hide my helpers. Okay. Forearm to the shoulder here. So now if I check, they'll link together. Okay, now I can place my chain. The last one here. as is for now. I'm gonna rename my points. Let's say SIK for system IK, upper arm L. Copy this and paste it here. Change this for forearm, and last one for hand. Arm L, this one. I'll just leave it like this. Okay. Then what I'm gonna do is create my main controller for the arm, because for now if I can use this goal, and now I have my AK chain created, and it will move the arm. So I'm just gonna go here, create a circle. There we go. I'm gonna align it to my wrist. Okay. So now it's aligned sideways, so I'm gonna pivot it, just the object, effect pivot only. Make sure it's in local, and I'm gonna angle snap and pivot it 90 degrees. And there you go. I'm gonna go back here. I'll lower its radius a little bit. I think, yeah, just 6 should be okay. I'm gonna activate the enable in viewport. So now it has a volume. I can reduce its thickness. Number size. I don't need that many size, just so it has a volume. Okay. I can even reduce it a little bit more. Alright. Now I'm going to use to go on my chain. This chain will be linked on my controller like this. So now I only need to use my controller here, and the whole system will follow. That would be the matter of the hand, because right now you see all my controllers for the hand, they need to be somehow connected to this system here, because right now my hand won't follow. So on the controller of the hand here, which in my tree, you see here I made a helper here that connects the controller of the forearm and the one from the hand. There's a controller that separates them. This controller, which is this one actually, it has the same position and rotation values as my controller of the hand. Okay. I just need to think for a little bit to not say anything wrong on this one. Okay. Wireframe. Okay, I have this. This is the expose transform node that I use. I showed in my last video. Okay, so yes, this needs to follow. Okay, I'm going to create another helper point. Going to align it so it's going to have the same coordinates as my controller. I'm going to resize it so I can see it better. I'll name it reg IKFK hand L. Alright. Now I'm just going to pause the video a little bit so I can figure out something I'm thinking about, and I'll come back just to make sure I don't screw up something. Okay, I'm back. I think I figured out what I was thinking about, just to make sure. This new helper that I just created, I linked it to my forearm, so it's at the same level as my helper here that separates my control of the hand and my control of the forearm. But this will only serve as a target, in the sense that this helper, the rig hand left, will be constrained to this helper, but it will also be constrained to the IK controller here. So I'll just show exactly what I mean by that. I'm going to close this. And now I'm going to add a position constraint to the new helper I created. And there it is. And I'm also going to add a position constraint with the controller of my IK, which I didn't rename. I'll do this right now. Control IK Alright, so right now if I move this controller, we can see my hand following halfway the distance I move it. I'm gonna undo this just to make sure I don't screw up anything. I'm going to set as skin pose everything here. I have a few schematic views open, just gonna close them. Alright. And now I'm going to add the switch that will toggle it between the two. For example, again, if I rotate this, my hand will follow only halfway now because it's also constrained to the other controller. So I'm going to go on my hand controller of the IK, and on this controller I'll add a new modifier, which is the attribute holder. Now we see I have an empty panel, but I'm going to add a button on it. I'm going to go with parameter editor, which will open me this float window. Add to type here, I'm going to select the object's current modifier, which is the attribute holder. Parameter type, here I want a boolean, which means it's going to be a controls that gives me a value of true or false. I'm going to add a check button, and I'll name it IKFK toggle. Alright. I'll make it a little bit larger, let's say 100. Okay. My highlight color, we can change it. This isn't necessary. We can just skip this part. I'll put it a light gray. We can test what it looks like, and this is activated, this is off. So these are my two states, true or false. And now I can add the button, and we see I have my button here now, but it won't just know by itself to toggle between IKFK. I need to connect them to the actual constraints. So for this to work, before I go further, I'm going to add the constraints on the bones themselves here. So I'm gonna unhide them. I'm not going to touch the twist bones. The twist bones, if I'm correct, they're already linked to their main bone. So wherever the main bone goes, the twist bone follows. So this is just for the main bone. And I'm going to add constraint, position constraint to my system IK, and rotation constraint to my system IK again. Same thing for the forearm. I have the bone selected. Alright, constraint, position, system IK. Hold on, I did something wrong. I need to not add a new constraint, but actually add a new target to the constraint that was already there. So, alright, I need to undo all this. I'm just going to delete. Alright, I already had a constraint here, so I need to add a position target and add, so they're in the same list. I'm going to give them equal weight value, so 100, 100. I'm going to do the same thing with my orientation constraint. Select it and add orientation target. There we go, and give them equal value. Okay. Oh, wrong thing. Make sure to unselect the add target. So I'm just going to delete this target. Unselect this. Oh, okay. Bone upper arm. Alright, so I'm going to delete this constraint I made and add the target to the already existing constraint. Okay, go back in position, delete this one, and add position target. There we go. I need to give them equal values. And 100. There you go. Alright. Did I do this for the helper here? I'm going to verify this. This one was only in position. I don't need the orientation for this. It's really just position, because these controller will follow the IK system when the IK mode is at on, so I can use these controller by themselves and it won't change for them. So for this one is simply position constraint. I think they're okay. I'm just gonna, yes, they're both there with just one position constraint. Alright, so now that's done. What we're gonna do is link them to my attribute, to my controller that will toggle between IK and FK. So for this I'm going to use the wire parameter. So I'm going to go here, wire parameter, and for this object we're going in modified object, attribute holder, custom attribute, and my button here, and select, it's going to be a link to my helper here, and this is going to be the transform, the position constraint, and position 0. Okay, so the way it works, I want my toggle to affect the weight here. So it's going to be a direct connect for one of them. And I'm going to select the weight 1 here, and the difference will be we're going to add something to the code here. It's still the same direction, but the way it works is since it's a true or false value, how it works, so we can calculate that mathematically is equivalent to 0 and 1. So for example, for the first one, basically when my toggle is always, let's say, when it's at true, its value is 1, and when it's at false, its value is 0. So let's say when it's connected to this one is, it has a value of 0, and this one has a value of 1. Just to make sure I don't say anything stupid now, because it makes sense in my head, but it's kind of difficult to explain correctly. Okay, no, what I meant was, when for this one to be active, the value of this one needs to be at true, so the total value needs to be 1. If the value is at 0, then this constraint won't be active. So for example, if I press the button and it's active, its value will be 1. But if I unpress the button, its value will become 0. Now for the other one, it needs to have the opposite effect, because when one is active, I want the other one to be inactive. Now, okay, so for this to be, the expression here will determine the value that the constraints have. Since this one is a direct value, this variable here is either 0 or 1. So if I want this this variable to have the opposite effect, let's say when the variable has a value of 0, I want it to have a value of 1. So I'll just simply write 1 minus the value of the button, true or false. So if its value is 0, 1 minus 0 equals 1. If its value is 1, 1 minus 1 equals 0. So now I have my opposite effect of the other one. If I connect, there you go. We'll just make a little test. So now it's not active. If it's not active, we'll see what it does. See, by being inactive, it will follow 100% my IK chain, and it will not follow my FK setup at all. Now if I toggle it, now it goes back to its IK, to its FK position. And all I need to do now is just do the same thing for the rest, for my other bones. I'm just going to hide my controllers so they're not in the way. Go in wire parameter, modified object, IKFK toggle, and go on my bone, position constraint, and weight 0 and weight 1. So again, the same thing, I just do a direct connect for the first one, and a 1 minus my variable connect, and there you go. Except for this one, we also have orientation constraint, so it's going to be the same thing. Connect 1 minus connect. Okay. Now instead of having to redo the wiring manually here, I can just select my bone here and refresh with the selected one. So now I have my bone. Oops, not this one, it's this one. Transform, position constraint. Direct connect. And there you go. With 1 minus IKFK toggle. And last one with my rotation. There. 1 minus detect. And there you go. And now I have my setup, my IK and FK setup for one arm. I'm just going to set a skin pose everything again, just to make sure. So now if I test, now we have, I'm just going to unhide my controllers. We see my FK setup remains at its position there, and now my bones follow my IK setup. But if I press the button here, now my bones will follow my FK setup. And there you go. And that's how we can do an IKFK switch for the controllers. So it's going to be the same thing for the other arm and the legs. So I'm gonna end the video here. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you guys next time.